The ASMR of me slowly dehydrating. Welcome back to Crows Before Bros. I'm Randy.
I'm Lauren.
And we're here to talk about books.
In a new year.
In a new year.
Happy 2023.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
New year, new books, new life.
New us?
Yeah, new us.
No.
Same us.
How was the rest of your December, early New Year vibe?
It was good. I started to feel better near the end of December, which is nice. I did a little bit of reading and mostly playing a lot of Stardew Valley.
Love that.
Just kind of transitioning into a new year of working. What about you?
Before we get there, I was about to ask you who your Stardew Valley go-to marriage is, but it's definitely the doctor.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How did you know that?
It fits. What did I do? Who knows?
You quit your job.
Yeah, it's been a weird month for me. I quit my job. That's been a lot in my brain. Since we read Every Summer After, I read Babel, which was my favorite read of the year. It's so good. It has such moving passages about the idea of revolution happening and us being really invested in revolution right up until it's uncomfortable for us.
I've heard it's amazing.
Yeah, it's very good. It's the first book I've ever underlined something in.
Really?
Yeah.
You told me, you're I don't know that you would like Babel, there's footnotes, and then we started reading this book, and I was like, footnotes? Other than Babel, have you clocked anything else?
I read Akamath. It was fine. I'm dipping from the ACOTAR universe. It's not for me. I just don't love it. I'm glad so many people find enjoyment in it. I don't. And then I'm almost through I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jenna McCurdy.
Yeah, I'm excited to read that one sometime this year. I think I read one nonfiction book in 2022.
Me too. Yay!
Yay!
This month, our buddy read was The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu. It clocks in at 390 pages, and it's a sci-fi, which is something I often avoid because I don't do science or math.
I had the thought many times reading this book, I give my brain 1 star.
1 star. Every single time that they are doing science and there's a big passage and they're here's all the science they're doing, I'm imagining main character in a lab coat and he's looking at a whiteboard and he's just writing arbitrary numbers all over it, and then someone else is putting a drop of blue in a beaker. I literally
you just fully glaze over and that's what you imagine every time.
Yeah, 100%.
So
a generic Marvel movie science montage.
That's hilarious.
It helped a lot. I'm not an astrophysicist.
There were definitely a lot of times where I was is what I think is happening actually what is happening?
This book was originally written in Mandarin and was translated to English. The writing itself is so beautiful. I don't know how. I feel especially since reading Babel, which the main kind of catalyst for a lot of things is translation in that book, I've never realized how difficult translation must be, but reading a book that's fully translated and then still being this is beautiful, and I also understand what's going on, and I feel I understand what the point throughout was, is very, very cool.
It is very cool. This is really artfully written for a sci-fi book.
Yes.
Throughout, I think one of my favorite things about it is how beautifully written some of the really gruesome things are.
Yeah.
I was whoa.
Yeah.
Because it's written in such a flowy kind of artful way.
Yeah.
It feels so cold that these things are happening.
Yeah. I guess I'll give a summary. The summary on the back of this book sucks. It pretty much is here's what the ending of the book is with nothing else. So here's what, if you're picking up the book, this is kind of the experience of the first chunk is. It follows a dual timeline. The current time follows Wang Miao as he is recruited to kind of infiltrate a group called the Frontiers of Science. He's just trying to learn what their purpose is. So Wang Miao finds himself faced with a string of unexplained deaths, a bunch of science that's not adding up, and kind of at the core of all this is a virtual reality game that he gets really, really hooked on, and he wants to kind of solve what the meaning of it is. We also follow Ye Wenji in the past timeline, and she kind of catches up to where we're at with Wang Miao. But she starts in the Cultural Revolution in China 40 years before. She kind of gets punished for her involvement in this, sent to a defense unit to essentially do scrub work, and as time goes on and she gains more trust, she learns that it's actually a front for attempting to establish contact with aliens. As time goes on, we learn about aliens, and we learn about kind of their impact on Earth and how everything is connected with this video game. But yeah, that's kind of the general idea.
It's a lot of science and physics vibes.
Yes. Part of the reason we chose the series is my husband doesn't read really any fiction books. He's boring. Love you. This was his favorite series he read last year. He loves it. He talks about it all the time. So I was okay, we want to read a sci-fi, let's look into this. He did say the following books are a lot less sciencey. So we'll do spoilers from here on out.
So get out of here. Launch yourself into orbit.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. I mean, go to the bookstore and buy this book.
So there's kind of like really a few main things happening in this book. There is like some content warnings around like suicide and death and murder.
Some pretty graphic death.
Really? Oh my god. This book is like one half very serious, doing astrophysics, very intense. The other half is like
really silly science. Some things where I was like, what is happening here?
The science itself is like hilarious.
Yeah.
Which I really, really enjoyed. So we follow Wang Miao as he's exploring this 3-body virtual reality game and learning kind of the functioning of that. Kind of learns that it's like a desolate planet and they have these stable eras and chaotic eras. And it all comes down to the fact that this planet has 3 suns, and when you have 3 gravitational pulls all of the same mass, it like creates this absolute chaos that not one of them, it's not like a nice whatever, but everyone's like, ooh,
everything's in chaos, and the planet frequently just like heats up to an unmanageable level, and everybody just like
or gets so
burns
cold.
alive or gets freezing cold.
They have no idea if the sun's gonna rise in the morning, if there's gonna be 1 sun, 2 suns, 3 suns.
Wake up in the morning and be like, who knows what's gonna happen today?
And maybe it'll be normal, or maybe we'll all burn to death. As a result, we get the funniest mechanic I've ever read in a sci-fi book. Essentially, he's walking with these 2 guys. One guy's like, man, I'm pretty tired. The sun's hot. And he just like dehydrates himself into like a little leather, essentially.
Yeah. I think of those almost like a fruit strip.
Oh,
that's what
yes,
I imagine.
like a fruit leather.
It was funny because not only was he feeling kind of tired, but he was also like, well, I'm pretty hungry. And the other guy was like, well, not worth it to feed you.
Yeah, dehydrate yourself. The guy who fruit leathers himself is named Follower, which is the worst name. Yeah. It says, Follower is now a man-shaped piece of leather stretched out on the ground. His facial features had flattened and become indistinct. Carry him. If you abandon him on the road, he'll be burned or eaten. Wang accepted the skin, a light roll. He held it under his arm, and it didn't feel too strange.
So funny. And yeah, they talk about just like rehydrating you by like a dried mushroom. And
yeah.
I'm like, what?
They just have like a big pool, and they just like start chucking like leathered men into the pool, and they're like, boop.
One of the wildest things though is that like sometimes people who've just been laid out and like not necessarily in a dehydratory or whatever they call them, you know, if a rat got to you and like ate your dehydrated finger, you wake up and you're like missing that finger. Like you could just be like without certain limbs, but it's like better than being dead, right?
Yeah. He like kind of starts learning how this world works, and then every time he signs on, it's like civilizations have passed, so he kind of watches them go from the Stone Age to like their own industrial revolution. It's later revealed that this game is actually made to mimic like an extraterrestrial planet and how it functions in its like chaotic and stable eras. It's a little bit of like a recruitment tool to get people kind of buying into the religion of like, we need to save this planet and stuff.
It is super bizarre, but it was really cool too. I quite liked it.
The other main thing is that Ye Wenji, we see her as she like learns about aliens in her job. She's actually the one who like sends out a message to the aliens. They write back, they're like, don't answer us. We're gonna come kill you. You don't want us to do that. And she was like, hell yeah, I do.
Yeah, well, and I actually read somewhere, it's also being adapted as a Netflix series, right? And so I was reading kind of about that, and talking about what the book is about, it says that she accidentally alerts.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, nuh-uh. No.
She very much is like,
she's
you know
like,
what?
hell yeah, bring on alien civilization to Earth.
Yeah.
Like,
and she
come
does,
at me, bro.
She does genuinely have like motivation for it. Like her dad was like murdered in the Cultural Revolution just for like pursuing the truth. She's just kind of given up on the idea of humanity. She's like, all we're gonna do is fight each other forever. Why not have someone come and like give us kind of like a Noah's Ark.
Revitalize the planet.
Yeah.
Well, and she's like, humanity friggin' sucks.
Yeah.
Like, you guys have, like, everybody has done such a poor job of managing this planet, and that's how that kind of group forms.
Yeah. Ye Wenji then forms the Earth Trisolaris organization, and part of the book is that group then, like, factions into how everyone thinks that we should deal with this now coming alien invasion.
Some of them are like, no, like, literally come wipe us out, we friggin' suck.
Yeah.
And then some of them are like, oh, like, perhaps we could, like, learn to get along.
Yeah.
And, like, you guys can teach us your ways.
Yeah.
And, like, we can mold into.
Some are like, come be our overlords. There's a lot of different ideas on how humanity should interact with this, like, alien group. We also get to see a little bit of, like, like that alien group's perspective, which I thought was like just a really fun, like interesting thing.
Yes, totally.
They like fully do the villain monologue, and it cracked me up. It made me think of that scene from The Incredibles where Syndrome is like, you sly dog.
Oh my goodness.
So like I would say kind of the crux of like finding out a lot of this information has to do with when they floss a boat to death.
Okay. Hold on though. Do you want to explain how it happens?
Sure.
And then I have a thought about this.
So Wang Miao, our main character, he is a applied scientist researching nanomaterials. So he essentially has created this like nanotechnology that is like 1/10 the size of a human hair, and it's super strong, mad strong.
So it's like the most severe group of the ETO.
They have been like straight up just chatting with the aliens for like years and getting all this information. The aliens are like, we're taking you down, and the Adventists are like, dope.
Yeah,
and they
come on.
Yeah, they have all this information with them on this like massive 60,000 ton cargo ship. So Wang Miao, not true, actually. Wait, the only useful character in this whole goddamn book, Da Shi, who's a beat cop, he's like, all you scientists are stupid as hell. You have science, use science. Here's how we're going to use your science. We're gonna use your really strong tiny strings. We're gonna stack them up in the Panama Canal. The boat's gonna go right through it, and it's gonna get flossed to death, and it's gonna be like a sheet of paper that just like kind of gets blown in the wind.
It makes me think of those videos where they are cutting kinetic sand. Horrific.
Horrific.
Every 15 centimeters, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the one line where I had to close the book and be like, oh my gosh, is when they talk about not doing it at night while they're sleeping.
Yeah.
Because that might not slice them,
Yeah.
right? Because if they're laying down, they might miss the...
Yeah, they might like nick the top of your toe.
It might nick the top of your nose or your toe or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, holy crow.
Yeah.
Like razor sharp, thin filaments
that you can't
between two pillars that no one can see.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, just like absolutely paper shredded to death, this whole ship and all of its inhabitants and all of its contents. And they're like, we'll still be able to get the information that we need from like the remains.
There's a moment where they're kind of watching this happen. The ship's kind of like, oh. And there's a guy on the ship that Wang Miao is watching, and he gets like sliced in half, and he doesn't.
He's
react.
hosing the deck.
Yeah.
And I was like, this happens in the movie Ghost Ship. I was like, I'm sure that I've witnessed this scene before. And it was a movie that traumatized me when I was younger. Same type of a thing, like they're seeable, the wire. But and you just like watch his body slide off of. Yeah. I was much too young to see this movie.
Like the guy like slices in half, and his top half is like trying to crawl away, and he like has no hands, and I was like, oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
It was whack. So they get this information from this kind of offshoot group that the aliens are attacking. We kind of see from the aliens' perspectives that the aliens have been like kind of directly attacking scientists. Their perspective is like, Earth is developing so fast, you know, from the Stone Age to like the Industrial Revolution was so long, but then from the Industrial Revolution to like the digital age was not very long at all, and they're just accelerating faster. And so they make these like the size of a proton. They're called Sofons, and they are essentially a crazy like microcomputer. It's kind of weird. It gets to like this point where they're like they have a proton and they like unfold all the dimensions. I picture
fold in the cheese, baby.
Fold it in.
Okay, I don't know how to fold broken cheese like that.
And I don't know how to be any clearer.
At this part in the book, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What is happening here?
Yeah. So they essentially like fold out this proton so it's like so big it like literally wraps around their planet. They design a whole ass computer on it. They fold it back up into like a little one proton size thing. They make a few of those and they shoot them off to Earth, and the whole purpose of this is to spy on humans and just like wreck their science. And then the book pretty much ends with all the scientists learning this and being like, well, we can't ever develop anything because everything is sabotage. There's no point in ever doing science ever again. Everything's moot. We're gonna die in 450 years when the aliens get here. The aliens, who we didn't really mention this, but they have the ability to like the Sofons make it so that you can have like things imprinted in your sight. Do you remember in Ned's Declassified School Survival Guy, Cookie has those glasses that's what I imagine.
Yes.
I
frequently imagine those glasses.
So they essentially imprint on the eyes of every single person on Earth, you're bugs! We see like all the scientists being like, what's the point? Everything sucks, we can't do science. And then again, Da Shi, the only reasonable beat cop man, he like pulls all these scientists and he's like, you know what? Locusts are bugs, cockroaches are bugs, and we've never been able to get rid of them, so let's be bugs if we're gonna be bugs.
Kind of awesome.
Yeah.
It kind of made me laugh at the synopsis. It was on Goodreads because I was like, this is like this is the end. One thing that I wanted to mention was about Ye Wenji when she is plotting to kill this supervisor of hers, Lee.
Yeah.
And he basically is going to take credit for her communication with aliens.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, I'm going to have to take care of him. And she plots to kill him. He like goes over a cliff to like work on something because science. And while he's doing that, her husband comes down and is like, I'm going to go help him. And she's like, well, this is going to be my only chance. And so she kills her husband too.
She's like literally pregnant with his child. And she's like, well...
Just absolutely like does whatever she wants. She's crazy. She's
crazy.
whack.
My main complaint about this book is actually the main character, Wang Miao. It feels like the whole time things are just happening to him. You could replace him with like a cardboard cutout of like Percy Jackson and it'd be the same book. He has a lot of useful things. Like he has, you know, the nanotechnology, he has like all this stuff, but it takes, again, Dashi, everyone has knowledge, but Dashi has wisdom, folks. He's like, no, like you have like the capacity to do these things. Why don't we use these? I think it's like a really interesting look when we look at like Dashi, who's literally a beat cop. He just like deals with like common criminals and punks on the street, and he's like kind of thrown in with all these academics.
Theory versus like application.
Application. And so I thought it was like just so funny that when you read the book, you're like, what is this cop even doing here?
Yeah.
And then he's the only one who does anything useful at any point.
We see some useful skills I feel like come up with our main character Wang Miao. For instance, his photography at the beginning is how we initially see the countdown. Which is kind of like superimposed onto his film. So like there are parts of his character that you're like, okay, this is why you are the character that you are. But it's, like you said, replaceable. I was actually surprised at how much I enjoyed this book, considering I'm usually really character driven.
Yeah, me too.
I want to relate to the main character. Sometimes I can feel like things that are really plot driven can be just like really dry. I found it like still quite interesting. Even though the characters, I was like, you could
like,
be anybody.
I really only cared about Dashi. The plot was just like intriguing enough. Again, my husband has said the second and third books are a lot more character driven because in the second and third books they can't really do science. The only thing that these aliens like can't influence is like literally what's going on inside your brain. So they have to like be trying to figure things out in like creative ways and stuff. I am excited to read the next one.
Same. But one thing about the plot was that it was super twisty. Like I feel like we got to the point where we learn about the 3-body game and I go, oh, okay. So then we're kind of like, the book's central point is about this game. And then it's like, wait, no. Wait, now we're like, okay, everything we know about science and physics is starting to be really like, like what's even happening? Nothing's working anymore. Like, okay, now connection between another planet and our planet is like the central focus. I was like, where are we going?
It's a lot of whiplash.
It's a lot of whiplash, but I found it interesting.
Yeah, it was really good. One other thing that I really enjoyed was there is this level of juxtaposition between Wenji, who's sending out this message to the universe being like, Earth is terrible, destroy us, and the alien on the planet that receives it is like, Earth is a paradise, we need to go there, like let's go right now. And it was like this really intense like juxtaposition. Like Wenji is literally like, okay, we're all killing each other, everything's terrible, and this alien on the other side is like, you guys have water, you guys have grass, your sun rises every day.
You've been in a stable era for eternity.
Yeah, it's so bizarre like
It's
seeing this. Yeah.
It makes you think, is my life a stable era?
Oh, my life is a chaotic era for sure.
I don't read a ton of science fiction, but every time that I do, I'm like, oh, I actually like quite like this. I think I should read more science fiction.
Yeah, it's like almost dystopian for like
for
not
space.
YA.
Dystopian space.
Dyspacian.
I hate that. What would you rate it?
I think on my story graph I give it a 3.75, but I think like round up to a 4.
I think I would give it a 4 as well.
Yeah.
I feel like there were some parts in the book where I was like 5, like as we were seeing the stuff being projected onto film and like the sort of like building intensity that like almost lends itself to more of a thriller. I was like, this is awesome, but there were a lot of parts in the book where I felt like a little bit of like a lull.
What song did you choose
1
second ago?
So I chose City of Delusion by Muse.
Okay.
Let me read you the lyrics first.
Okay.
Initially, I was thinking like, Ye Wenji's her kind of like YOLO, like I'll do whatever I have to like take down humanity, right? Destroy the city of delusion and break these walls down, and I will avenge and justify my reasons with your blood. That line was like especially what I was thinking of. But I was gonna say, when I just looked up on MuseWiki kind of like meaning, it says this song has the same lyrical theme as Assassin, an individual prepared to commit brutal acts in order to get their views and opinions noticed. And so I was like, that that tracks.
That tracks.
Also, I think musically, like, it feels kind
Muse
of the
is a
same.
sci-fi band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. It feels the same kind of way that I felt reading this book.
Yeah.
So if you listen to the song like 1,600 times over, that would be a similar experience. What did you choose?
So I have kind of a gag song, which is "Don't Impress Me Much" by Shania Twain. It's one line, and I just imagine Dashi going, "So what? You're a rocket scientist. That don't impress me."
That's actually so funny.
So you've got
Wow.
the brain, but do you have the touch?
It's funny that that's a gag song, but it actually like works out
Yeah.
really well. So that was our book.
Yeah.
Read it if you like sci-fi.
Yeah.
It was quite cool. If you were a psychotic person that was going to slice a boat,
Yeah.
would you slice it horizontally the way they did or vertically? Is this a weird question? Are people going to think I'm crazy?
Yes.
Okay, well,
I feel like horizontally made less of a mess.
I guess so.
It's a easier cleanup, and they're blocking the Panama Canal. It's
Don't
true.
you think the pieces might go like
Yeah, but you're still like,
instead of like one more follow-up question. Would you rather be sliced horizontally or vertically?
I think vertically.
Why is that?
I think I'd just die. And then I don't have to do the whole crawling trying to get to the other parts of my body thing.
Because if you were sliced
Like here in my
horizontally-
legs or whatever.
Right, like if you were sliced, for instance, even like here, you would still, your heart and your brain
Yeah, you'd be
might
like
still
a
be...
chicken.
15
like,
centimeters is like vertically,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
Interesting.
like if I'm just cut down the middle, I'm just dead. And then I don't have to worry about my body being
You might
in the
be
middle
cut
bits.
twice or three
Oh my
times.
god, what
I'm
if
trying
it
to
just
think-
chops off my arms? And that's it?
You're just armless. You get a little haircut if your hair is like laying on your shoulders.
Like this, like right now.
trimmed. But then also
I'll
your
be like,
arms
wait.
wait. Haircut. Vertically it is.
Vertically it is.
What are you gonna read next?
Oh yeah.
I know you talked in your solo video. If you haven't seen it yet,
Oh, yeah.
Randy's solo video is up. But
Yeah.
you talked a little bit about just like being more intentional this
Yeah.
year about the way that you read and like not putting sort of quantity over quality.
Yeah.
And like really reading things that you're excited about. So I'm excited to hear
Yeah.
what is on your list.
Yeah, I'm just finishing up I'm Glad My Mom Died, and then I'm gonna read Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which I'm very excited about, and then I'll get to Legends and Lattes also probably this month. I've like slowed down. It's nice.
I look on that and I go, in theory, I want to do that also. I'm like such a, I don't know,
You're
like not
competitive.
competitive, but also, and like a perfectionist. And I'm like, I didn't reach my reading goal in 2022. So like a lot of your reflecting came from like being like, this is way too much. Whereas for me, I'm like, I wanted to read 50 and I read 48. Anyway,
Yeah.
subscribe to our channel.
For more content like this.
If you don't subscribe to our channel, you too will be sliced. We want to give you a haircut, do all the YouTube things. We are stoked to talk more about books with you. It's a
Yeah.
new year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some cool plans for the year. Please give us your recommendations on sci-fi
Yeah.
novels.
I don't read enough sci-fi.
Science, fience.
Science rules. See you guys. We love you lots. Bye.